The Boulder City Sports Network is sponsored by Superior Builders, Inc. of Nevada, building spec residential and commercial with our investment partners for nearly 20 years. Contact Aaron at sbinevada.com for more information. And the I&I Music and Podcast Studio. If you're interested in using the studio, you can contact Dawn at iandimusic.studio. And EV Park, revenue-generating charging stations for apartments, hotels, offices, and short-term rentals. Contact sales at evpark.com to find out how your property can generate a new income stream.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Boulder City and Eagle Nation. Welcome to the BCSN Coaches Show. Live from the BCSN studio with our producer, Don Rodriguez, making it all happen in the background. Thank you, Don. So I'm Rich Shuman. Tonight we're kicking off the 2025 season with head coach Bubba Mariani. We'll break down the youth movement, preview the trip to Churchill County, spotlight some of the positions on the team, hear some questions from the players, talk about the coach's third grade Pee Wee team, and finish with a crystal ball rapid fire. You good with all that?
That sounds good.
Well, Coach, welcome back. It's game week.
Thank you. First, I'm going to say, Don, you look terrible.
Yes, he does. I agree.
No, we're ready to go. It's been a long time since we've been here talking about football, and we've been kind of talking behind the scenes, and, it officially kicks off in about 48 hours, and I am so excited.
I know. I can tell. So let's start right there. I mean, with the biggest change from last year, what's the biggest change the fans will notice from last year?
We are going to be young. All right. There's a lot of kids that are going to be out on the field that people don't know. The last couple of years we had, the first year we were very senior heavy with kids that had played for 2 or 3 years, in the program. Last year we had a lot of guys returning that kind of filled spots. This year we've only got 2 or 3 guys that really saw substantial minutes last year. We've got a lot of guys that played here and there, but nothing that was they were the guy. And now we've got a lot of fresh blood out there. It's going to be fun.
Okay, good. Yeah, calling it the youth movement.
Yes,
right.
That's where we're going with it.
What's
Hashtag youth movement.
Yeah, I love it. What's the culture message to the team this year?
The big thing last year that we saw, and we struggled with injuries, and we had a lot of guys like kind of coming and going that we didn't get the commitment we wanted from everybody. So kind of early on, we came up, and I credit Coach Kevin Ruth for kind of showing me this, the mantra that University of New Mexico has used for a few years, and it's earned, not given. So that was kind of our thing throughout the summer, that everything you do, you've got to earn your spots to be on the team, to get a position on the team, to earn a position on the field. You know what I mean? Like, It's not just, we didn't have anybody that was just going to come in and be like, hey, I'm the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everybody had to put in the work this summer, and everybody kind of started. I mean, it really even started in November of last year in the weight room. And, there's a buy-in of, you've got to do what you need to do in order to belong,
How important was the summer for you?
I think it was huge with this group. We had an idea of where we were going to go offensively and defensively, but you really don't know until you get this group of kids together. I've told them repeatedly that the one problem I foresaw was them gelling, because we've got a lot of kids that they're friends, but it's a lot of different groups of friends.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk around the school and you see like this group over here, they weren't all together. But I have to say, and I've pointed out to them quite a few times, that over the summer, they have become a band of brothers, as opposed to just a bunch of different little cliques. And that's going to take us a lot further than a lot of the X's and O's stuff can, you know?
Yeah. Biggest improvement from last year to this year?
I think it's our strength and conditioning stuff.
Okay.
I think this is the first year where I really feel that the kids have committed to it. When we've been in the weight room, in the winter, we had probably 20 kids that showed up on a fairly regular basis, which is very good with the kids doing other sports and things like that. But this summer, there was literally no complaints, and every day you walked in there, you saw kids pushing themselves harder than I've ever seen them, and it's not, I'm not going to say all of a sudden we've got a million guys that can bench press 300 pounds and squat 500, but overall we are a stronger team pound for pound than we've been the last 2 years.
That's great. Let me give you one word to describe the 2025 Eagles.
Young.
Young.
You
like it.
really, it's something that is, we have to keep taking a step back as coaches because there's a lot of stuff that we're doing that I think is going to be very successful this year, but you kind of take a step back and you realize that like we've got very few varsity snaps out there. And with what we're doing this year, we've got a ton of kids that we're going to have for 2, 3, 4 years into the future, and it's just very exciting. It's nice to have a young group that wants it, and it's going to be fun.
That's good. That's exciting. Let's meet the team a little bit. Let's go through them. I mean, which position groups have surprised you most over the summer?
The group that really like took off early, and I will say it's the defensive side of the ball. Our defensive line, they, early on, we knew we had some athletes over there. But as we kind of went through the summer and started doing a little bit more competition stuff, 11 on 11 and just like one-on-one stuff, kind of saw that our defensive line there's some monsters over there. They might be our best position room, right off the bat. Isaiah Renda, that's the defensive line coach. He's very proud of that fact. He's done nothing. These kids are just natural athletes. But they're really good. And you kind of go across the board. There's a handful of guys that kind of rotate in, and you've got Gavin Cartier and Seth Kirby kind of at the ends to start. But then you've got guys like Brandon Hobbs and Jackson Butner that step right into those same spots, and you're not taking a step back at all. Like they're both right there. And then the interior line, Cody Ayton's just been a man-child in there. He's broken his hand for the third year in a row, which is just
a tradition.
Things are going good when Cody breaks his hand.
Yeah.
And then Joseph McLeod's the other one down there that is just pounding, and he's a short little fire plug of a dude, but like he's hard to move, and he's got a high motor, and both of those two are inside. They're both sophomores, so it's a good thing to have. And then the second group that's been awesome has been our linebackers. We've got
Cam Matthews.
Cam is starting at the middle linebacker, and right behind him is Jolton Swoop, who's kind of been working in there. And our outside guys, Stephen West and Otis Ruth, have really stepped up and been phenomenal so far this summer. And then we've got guys that can kind of step in right behind them, in a freshman in Axel Campbell, and then Nate Lewis, who's a senior. Like all those guys, I'm comfortable with all of them being out on the field, and it's fun to be around.
Yeah, Cam's a senior, right?
Yes. Cam
What's his impact on the defense?
Cam is listen, this is going to go to his head, but he is 100%. He's like that, like Ray Lewis, Mike Singletary, when you go to the old school stuff, where like he's the mouthpiece of the defense. It's his emotion and his attitude carries to everyone. You know what I mean? And the thing that's been great up to this point is he's excited to be there every day, and he is high emotion, and the guys feed off that, and that's one of those things where, and I've told him repeatedly, like when we're up, we want this. When we're down, we also want this. You know what I mean? That energy's got to stay, and I feel like we can kind of stay in any game when it's there. He really is that emotional leader of the defense. Guys rally behind him, and sometimes he's crazy, and they back up his crazy, and it works.
That's cool. That's cool. That's kind of my next question. Who's the vocal leader in the locker room? Or
I think we've got a couple seniors that are, they're vocal, but they're solid leaders this year, which I like. I think Cam is obviously one of them. I think Trey Adams is another one, and he's definitely kind of that leader on the offensive side of the ball. Seth Kirby's stepped up, and he is saying and doing the right things and kind of getting guys going. Nate Lewis is another one that's kind of stepped up, and then kind of our quietest leader, but kind of that lead by example. I'm not a big talker, is Aiden Armstrong.
Okay.
Those guys are definitely stepped into that role for us.
Yeah. How do you balance the veterans with the younger guys?
Well, honestly, even with the veterans that we have, really Cam and Trey were the two that played the most for us last year. And you got to throw in Cartier. Like I always forget him with the senior group because he was only a sophomore last year. But those three kind of were on the field the most for us. And Trey's at center, so you kind of forget about him because Trey just does his thing. Cam was back and forth between both sides of the ball, and Cartier was kind of the same way. So we're kind of looking at everybody as like rookies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because even with Cam playing linebacker, he was there for half the year, then he was quarterback, then back, and back and forth. And Cartier was kind of like, he was at receiver, then he was playing defensive line, then safety, then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they weren't really in just one position. So they did get minutes, but they're still fairly new to it.
So it's kind of like you said, they really earned these positions,
Right, 100%.
over the summer.
Yeah.
They weren't given just
Right.
because what they did last year, they earned them.
Right.
Let's go to the other side of the ball, the offense. What are some of your highlights there? What are you looking at there?
So one of the things that we really are looking at with the offense in general this year, we've got to improve our running game.
Okay.
For the last 2 years, everybody knows that I like throwing the ball, but to be able to throw the ball, you need to be able to run the ball a little bit too. And that's kind of been a big focus. I think we've got 3 or 4 backs that can really give us some quality carries and split the load up a little bit. We've got some big fullback type guys that are going to be able to open some holes for us and give our offensive line a little bit of a break. And then we've got a group of 5 or 6 receivers that are really good receivers, and I think if we can spread the ball out and get the ball to them and get it to them in space where then they can make a play, I think we've got guys that kind of across the board can move the ball down the field for us.
Okay. Yeah. So the running backs, you have 4 running backs. Do you switch them in and out?
We do. So people are going to be switching in and out. We've got a couple packages where we've got multiple backs in and stuff like that. But right now, kind of carrying the load, he's a little ill going into the first week, so we'll see. But Jolton Swoop is kind of he's the guy that kind of does a lot of different things for us. Off of that, we've got, and like I keep saying it, it's like a 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all so close that depending on what we want to do and what play, because their running styles are all a little different, we could get the ball in a certain position and like, hey, Jolton, it's not you, it's Kale Starley. Like, he's our next guy on there. Like, he runs the ball really well up the middle and out wide. Not so much off tackles. We've kind of discovered that. But those two other things, he's really good. Nate Lewis is he's the third guy in there. I think he might be a little bit quicker than the other guys. He runs the ball well. He understands the offense. He sees holes really well. And then the fourth guy is Aiden Armstrong, who's kind of the quickest of all of them. I kind of refer to him as like our Le'Veon Bell because he really stops and reads a hole and then like shifts through and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he starts at safety, and his dad won't ever let him come over with the offensive practice, so we only get him like 1 or 2 snaps. So we'll see.
Okay. Oh, that's Armstrong's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Any under the radar players that we should be looking out for this year that are trying to make a name for themselves?
I think one of the ones that people are going to see, and it's 2 guys that are going to be in the backfield that have played on the line for us, but we've moved them back. One is Cohen Burrows, who's going to be like primarily like our fullback, but we've got a few plays. He's been running the ball hard on like dives and things like that. And then the other guy that I think is going to be a kind of a game changer guy for us that teams are going to have to game plan for is Brandon Hobbs.
Okay.
So he's playing tight end and like a fullback and like a wing back, and there's a lot of stuff. A lot of our offense kind of goes through Brandon, so that's a name that I don't know that people know off the bat because he's a bigger guy. He doesn't really look like a skill position guy, but what's that? I love Hobbs. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to go through him. So he's kind of my under the radar. Like, I think in 3 or 4 weeks, people are going to be like, that kid he's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, that's a good introduction to the 2025 Eagles. Anything else you want to add to the team, or that kind of lays it out there?
No, I think we've got a good combination of kind of all over the place.
Yeah,
you know
we'll
what I mean?
Go through it week by week as we see.
Yeah, 100%.
Who's doing what out there? Okay, so this week, 2 days from now, 48 hours from now, we're up in Churchill County.
Yep.
Close to Reno, Fallon, Nevada.
Yep.
Long trip. What do you notice right away when you watch game film on
Well, one of the
Churchill
things,
County?
and like
Let's
I've
talk
gotten this
about that.
question from a bunch of people, is like, why are we playing them?
Yeah.
We're playing them because they were good last year.
Yep.
One of the things that I've always wanted to do, being in the 3A, we've got the Southern 3A and the Northern 3A. Eventually, you get into the playoffs, you want to know what's going on with them. Up north, they've got, I think like 9 teams. I don't know. There's a weird number. But when you pay attention to the standings every year, it kind of always breaks down that like the best team is 9-0. Then the next best team is 8-1. Then 7-2, 6-3, 5-4, and it literally goes all the way down to someone else that's 0-9. And I've always wanted to play somebody up there because you play them, you kind of see where everybody stacks up because that's the way it works. And they were good last year. They lost in the semifinals to Slam, and I want to challenge. You know what I mean?
So what you're saying is if we get to the state level, the playoff level, we're going to face these guys anyway, so we might as well start to see them a little bit.
And my plan moving forward is every year we kind of like we're doing a home and away with them, so we're going up there this year. Next year they'll come down for us for the opener.
Okay.
Then, the year after that, I'm going to try and find another team up there and kind of do the same thing. It's a fun way that we can kind of head out and, team bonding and doing all that, and you get to play somebody different. It's very exotic for the kids to be talking about playing like no one wants to go to Fallon, Nevada, but the kids are super excited to go to Fallon, Nevada this year because we're not playing, some team from just over the hill.
That was the first question the kids asked me today when I was getting the questions is why are we going to Reno?
Right, right.
So it's new to them, and it will be a team bonding experience for sure. So Churchill County was 7-5 last year. They were 5-2 in the league, lost in the semifinals, double overtime to Slam.
Yep.
Big physical team, big tight ends. How do you game plan for that?
Well, and here's the thing too, that is a little weird going into the first game is it's very tough to game plan for that because
I haven't seen them yet.
We're looking at what they did last year, and not only are we looking at what they did last year, we're looking at what they did in the quarterfinals and semifinals last year. That's a team that's played 11, 12 games already. They've got very advanced stuff in that you see a team week 1, that's not really what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's tough because you're watching film and you don't know if those kids are in the same positions. You don't know what those guys coming back, like, is this kid still playing? You know what I mean? There's a lot of unknowns. So we kind of go into it where this is like kind of the 1 week a year where I watch minimal film because you kind of don't know, you kind of have to, it's a little bit of a guessing game. And the fun part about week 1 is this week more than anything, it's kind of on the coaches of like, hey, they're doing this. We need to change what we were thinking, but they're going to be good. They've got a lot of guys returning from last year. That was one of the things that I kind of liked about going up to play them. They were a young team last year, very much how we are this year. They've got a lot of skill guys back. They don't have as many of their line back, which that could be good for us, could be bad. I don't know. But they're good. They've got a very good quarterback, throws the ball well, runs the ball well. So it's a good challenge early in the year. And the other thing too is I like playing at least one good team early to kind of see where you're at. That the after week 1 is when teams make the greatest gains during the season because you don't know what you don't know until you go and see, the live bullets. So it's fun to play somebody really good. We could open up with somebody that is terrible and we look great, but we don't get any better from that, and one of the things I've talked with the coaches and everything, it's great to go undefeated. That's everybody's goal is we're not going to lose a game. We're going to win the state. Our goal every year is we want to be better when conference starts. That's when it really matters. That's the record that really matters for us. And then on top of that, be ready again when playoffs start, so that's what we've got to kind of work it up to that level so we're ready to go then.
Sure. How do you balance the pregame plan with like the in-game adjustments? Like you said, you're probably going into this with a plan, but.
Oh yeah. It was funny because I pulled the quarterbacks and running backs and we were talking about a bunch of stuff today and I was like, hey, I'm gonna let you guys know this is the plan. This is the play we're opening up with this week. And I go, and then we're going to go to this, and then we're going to go to this, and then we're going to this. And they're like, all right, cool. And I go, also, it might be a completely different play. It totally might change, but that's kind of where we're at. And then, we've got a lot of guys that I trust this year on staff that kind of have the same mindset and understanding that I think the adjustments are going to come naturally and we'll be all right. I think we've got enough in both on offense and defense that we can kind of make a 180 and go a different way, and we will be ready to do that as well. So it's good.
What's a key top priority for you and the team this week?
in terms of like game plan stuff.
Yeah,
Our biggest
or
thing,
even just approach and mindset, or just
biggest thing I've told the kids all year is our defense is very good. I think our defense is going to be very good. We want to control the ball. We've got a great special teams this year. We want to be able to take advantage in games with those guys, and just make smart decisions with the ball. That's kind of the biggest thing that I've preached with Asa is you've got to make the right decisions. You know what play works for us. Make sure we're in that play. When we're throwing the ball, it's our guys get it or nobody gets it. We don't want to take any sacks. If we need to, we get rid of the ball, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
yeah. Let me go back to special teams for a minute
Okay.
while you bring that up, because Cash is kicking. And
Yes,
he
Cash
can
Daly.
kick.
Yeah, he
He's got
can.
a foot.
Yeah. Yeah, the little red-headed leprechaun can kick.
Yeah, he could kick last year.
Yeah, and
You
he's gotten better. You know, I was very happy with what he could do last year, and I kind of forget that he was a sophomore last year because I've been around him for so long. And you know, he stepped up in huge games last year, and he really has worked it. We actually sent him over by our girls' soccer coach today, and she like tweaked some of the stuff in his
Nice.
kicking, and it's
Good
gotten
idea.
a little bit better.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's something that we want to take advantage of.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot less stress on a young offense knowing that we've got to get to the 20-yard line and we're going to get some points, as
points up.
opposed to because that last push from the 20 to 10, it's very hard to score in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that takes some of the pressure off a young team if we know like we got to the 19-yard line, deep breath. We've
Yeah.
done something. You know what I
And
mean?
also kick off some punting. Does he punt or?
No, Gavin Cartier punts for us,
Okay.
and he's got a
got
cannon
too.
for a leg. Yeah,
Yeah, I heard he can boom it. Too.
yeah, yeah.
So that helps too. I mean, pinning him down on the other end.
Right,
is-
and that's what we
you
said.
know.
Where we will play a little bit more of the smart ball control game this year. I say that now, sitting in a studio talking to you.
Yeah.
48 hours from now, where I'm like, we should punt. I'm like, no, we're not. We're going for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the things that we, you know, I've got to get better with is making sure that that's kind of we stick to that game plan.
Yeah. Feel like the team is ready, mindset wise. Yeah.
I do, and this is that weird stretch where I mean we've been at it for 3 months,
Yeah.
you know, and like seeing each other every day, and you know, kind of officially once school starts or the season officially starts, and you're just kind of out there grinding. This week is that it's nice because we're finally there. Last week is like the worst week where you're still going and you got another week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, I think we're ready. You know, it's time for the tests.
Yep.
Now we see. The good news is, like these kids in high school now, they get a retake next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Yeah.
but we can go out there and see what we can do kind of the first time.
Yep.
So,
Final question on Churchill. Mindset of the kids in the fourth quarter that you'd like to see,
um,
or in the last quarter.
the not quit. You know,
Okay,
I think
yeah.
that's been the biggest thing where we've gotten tired and if things weren't going our way, you know, in the past, there were some times where as a team, we just kind of packed in and shut down.
Yep.
You know, I think I go back to the last game of the year last year against Pahrump, and Pahrump jumped out ahead, and like there was a little bit of fight there, but we just kind of tucked tail, and the next thing you know, we've given up 62 points, and they weren't 62 points better than us.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that was kind of instilled with the kids this year over the summer of like, you've got to finish everything, you've got to go. I'm telling you, these kids are more in better condition than they've ever been in their life. So
That's awesome.
hopefully, and the beauty of it is it's going to be about 20 degrees cooler up there at game
Mhm.
time. So that should play to our favor quite a bit too.
Good. What's your message to any fans traveling up to Fallon this week?
Drive safe.
Okay.
Be there to represent, and we're there we're playing for you guys. You know what I mean? That's kind of the biggest thing, that the kids love the fans being there. It's so important to them. It's important to me too. I think it's great that we get so much support, and you know, I know that the kids are going to be out there and busting their butts and doing their best, and we just need to support them because it's a long season.
Yeah. And you're looking forward to the bus ride home with all of them in the bus. I heard about that.
The biggest thing is I've told them all that if you were going home on the bus, you are showering before you get on the bus. And they
Yeah.
think I'm joking, but like, we've got a guy that's going to be checking.
That's great. Anything else to add to the week to Churchill County?
No, I think we're
Okay.
ready to go.
Good to go up there. All right, so I have a few questions here from your players.
Okay.
I ran into a few of those guys this week, and some of them are on topic, some of them are a little off topic. But
Gotcha.
who's Bubba's favorite personality on the team? Cohen Burrows wants to know.
My favorite personality. I know who he thinks it is because he thinks he is just the funniest guy in the world, and that would be Luke Jappy.
Okay.
But I have to say he probably is my favorite personality. He is a complete nut job.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. You literally never know what's going to come out of his mouth, and 9 times out of 10, even for me to go, wow, Luke, that was too far. Like, you know it's bad.
Alex Kessler wants to know your favorite lineman.
My favorite lineman. I'm gonna stay loyal. I'm gonna go Trey because Trey played all last year, and he's kind of that. He's totally like the dad of the offensive line. Like, I don't know how to describe it.
One of those,
yeah, like he just kind of takes care of everybody. Yep. Sometimes he does a little too much because he's trying to do other people's jobs and stuff like that. But he really is that. He's that glue that everybody looks up to him, and everybody, if there's a question, they go to Trey before they come to Coach Bradshaw or myself.
Yeah, good. Wyatt Lemming wants to know, how much do you bench?
How much? Oh God, it's been a while since. I would say right now I could probably get up 225, but not much after that.
All right, there you go, Wyatt. Victor Basello wants to know, how do you feel about people skipping practice on the first day of school?
Oh, Victor. Okay, I see what Victor.
You know why he's asking that?
Yeah, I know why Victor asked that.
Joke.
Victor asked that because I was ridiculously sick on the first day of school, and
Oh.
I'm the one that skipped practice on the first day of school.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks for all that. Let's switch to something very exciting in your life, too, is the Pee Wee third grade football team.
Yes.
Mind if we talk about that for a little while?
Absolutely open to talking about
Okay,
that.
I have
group.
some questions on that. Because my son plays on that team, and I've never seen you more excited for a football practice than when these kids were putting on pads for the first time. So, a few questions about that. I mean, why coach kids so young when you're?
You know what? To me, I don't see it. I really don't see it much different between the third grade kids and the high school kids. You could totally take that as like me kind of being a jerk to one group or the other, but it's just so much fun because it's so pure and just out there to have fun, and I think football is a sport that kind of teaches you more about life than any other sport there is. You know what I mean? I think there's a inherent sense of failure in football because, you're going to get, it's the one sport where you get knocked on your butt and you've got to get back up. Mm-hmm. And if that isn't, and I'm going to try and use a big word and I might be using it wrong, but like an allegory for life, like, I don't know what is, you know what I mean? Where, there's going to be bigger, faster, stronger guys, and you've got to line up and do your absolute best against them, and you might get your butt kicked, but guess what? 30 seconds later, you got to get up and do it again. Yep. And you got to get up and do it again. And then there's nothing sweeter than the moment where all of a sudden it all clicks and you do something right for the first time. It's absolutely amazing. And to see that on the little guys is awesome because you see it on like kind of a daily basis with them where like somebody does something for the first time and you're like, oh my God, and you can just celebrate it with everybody. You still see it a ton with the high school, but it's like spread out a little bit more. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about just the game in general,
How do you teach it to these young kids? How do you teach fundamentals to 8-year-olds?
You got to start at the beginning. Mm-hmm. We talk about it as coaches all the time where every year we kind of start with our team, even with the high school, and we kind of start with this guy. And I always go back to like the old like 1950s like films of like, this is a football, see, and like kind of like introduce it from there. And it's fun because, especially like these younger kids, they watch YouTube and they watch highlights and they watch all that stuff, but they don't know just the little pieces of it and they want to know, you know what I mean? And it's fun to just really like, these are the positions, these are what these guys do. And like the little guys, especially, like they start to take pride in their specific position, and you've got a kid that's literally 4 feet tall and we're like, you're a cornerback, and like the next day he comes in and he's like listing off a bunch of cornerbacks. He's like, I'm gonna do all that stuff, and I'm like, no you're not, but awesome.
How have you had any funny moments with these third graders? What's your funniest moment?
Funniest moment with the third graders, I would say, was our fart practice. We had one of the boys, nobody has owned up to it, so I don't know specifically who it was, but every time we were hitting during the drill, you would hear the pads pop and somebody fart. And then everybody would laugh hysterically, including myself. And then it's like a 3-minute interval of like trying to get everybody back. And then we'd go again and then.
Are there any Pee Wee players that remind you of a varsity player?
I don't know. It's kind of tough at this point because I will say with the Pee Wee players, we've got a lot more big attitudes down there that it's kind of fun to be around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, the thing that I can see with a lot of them is they like emulate different things that they've seen before. So you hear a lot of like Justin Jefferson on a team that's not going to throw the ball. A bunch of people think they're Justin Jefferson, so that's awesome.
Yeah. How important are the parents to the Pee Wee program?
Oh, I think that's huge. You know, I mean, it goes with like the varsity football and JV football, B football, all the way down. You know, football it's tough. It's a grind for, you know, not even including the summer, but it's like a 2-3 month period when you get pads on that every day you're uncomfortable. Every day there's a reason to not go the next day. And when you've got parents that support it and understand that like the hard work and the effort is going to pay off and it's going to make you better, and they're at home to kind of support and encourage the kids to go back, it makes all the difference in the world, you know, because it really is. It's very easy after a hard day to be like, I'm not going tomorrow. And if a mom or dad is like, you know what, you're right, you don't have to go, that sets a bad standard, you know, and I think that's something that kind of translates way more than just the football field. I think it kind of translates into school stuff. I think it translates later on into work and home life and marriage. And you know what I mean? It's just one of those things that like a good backup with the parents at, you know, in the youth sports is huge because it's, you know, and I think the other thing too that is huge is we've got so many parents that even come out to practices that, you know, each kid has their fan base. You know what I mean? Like you kind of watch and I'll notice it too here and there where like a kid will make a play and I'll kind of like look over to the crowd and like those parents are just, you know, and that's great. And like the kids need to see that and know that like we talk to the high school boys about it all the time. Like, who are you playing for? You play for your parents. They're the ones that support you. And like, they're the ones that are going to be there on Friday nights. And, you know, it's huge to have them supporting everybody.
Have you seen this be a feeder program to the high school? I mean, can you already see it?
Yeah, we are. I mean, this year, I think we'll have 6 kids on varsity
That played Bears.
that played for the Bears and,
on varsity.
and 4, I think, that are starting this year.
Wow.
You know, so we're starting to see the benefit of it. And really, the biggest thing is just getting them the understanding. Like, nobody cares if you win a 3rd through 8th grade championship. It's understanding what the game is, what, you know, and like making it mean something for you, because when you've played with the same kids for, you know, some of these guys, like these 3rd graders, they'll play together for 9 years, you know, and you care, you go a little bit extra when you've put in the blood, sweat, and tears next to these guys for 9 years. You don't want to let them down, you know, and I think that to me is more important to building a good program in the high school than, you know, kids learning the X's and O's down there. We can always teach that. You know what I mean? Sure. But it's like understanding what that team is and what it means to kind of play for each other and for the town and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. Okay, good. Anything else to add on the Pee-wees?
No, they're getting ready to go. We'll keep you updated on them. They don't start for a while in terms of game wise. So, but I'm excited about it.
Good. All right, this last segment is our crystal ball rapid fire.
Okay.
So, we're just gonna ask you some quick questions, quick answers. Who wins in a 40-yard dash? You now or you at age 18?
Oh, me at age 18 kicks my butt.
Which assistant coach survives the longest on a deserted island?
Jack Dunnigan.
Your go-to post-game meal?
3 chocolate chip cookies and a tall glass of milk.
Worst halftime speech you've ever given?
Worst halftime speech. Worst. I don't even know. None of them match up to Sunrise Mountain last year. So everything is tied for last compared to Sunrise Mountain last year.
Good. Funniest player on your roster?
Funniest player, I've got to say, again, Jappy.
Okay.
He's a weirdo.
If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing on a Friday night?
I'd be at home reading. Lame.
That's kind of lame, but okay. If you had to play one series in the game, what position would you take?
Running back.
Okay. Who's more nervous before the kickoff, the players or the parents?
Neither. Me.
Okay. Most superstitious player or coach?
Me and Render have our fair share of superstitions and little things like that. Players, I don't know. We'll have to see this year. I know they get into it. And like the thing too is like as the season builds, you get to see more and more of it. Like you don't realize stuff is superstition until like week 7 when someone comes in and grabs something and you see like 7 dudes yell at them and they're like, you can't touch that. You're like, why? And like, that needs to be grabbed by so-and-so with 3 minutes before we go out. You know what I mean? Like you don't know it until late. That's something we come back to like week 10 because there's always like 1 or 2 things where like I'll get yelled at by the kids. We're like, you did that different. And I'm like, no, I didn't. Like, no, every game you do this, this, and this. Then you do that. Today you did this, then that. You know what I mean? So like, I say I'm pretty superstitious, but like, there's definitely some kids that take the cake.
Do you have any superstitions? It just like this always happens? Or?
Yes. So
you can share with us.
Yeah, no, it's not a big deal. I go home, change. I have my Lucky Eagle underwear. Okay. I have to put those on. Yep. Definitely wear the same outfit, same everything. I have to have Subway before the game. Okay. The Subway in town, we've had to go earlier and earlier because they're moving slower and slower. That is a subtle flex on you. Let's go. Mm-hmm. But have to do that. And then it's kind of as the season goes, I usually will pick a kid and I will test the water bottles and spray them somewhere before the game. Okay. If we win, then that kid gets it the next week. If we lose, then I pick a new kid. Okay. You know what I mean? So it's like little things like that. And it really is like, those are kind of like the big overarching, have not changed in years. But then you kind of, like I said with the kids, you kind of pick up little different things. You know, we've got the selfie.
Well, that's
thing.
What I was going to say. The selfie out of the tunnel. That's the one I know that.
Yeah, that's like
wouldn't
a big
be a game
and
that
one started. That one started years ago, and like people have asked me, and I've never really answered it, so I'll answer it now. Yeah. But that started years ago when I was coaching at Desert Pines, and Asa would go to the games with me when he was like 4 years old, and my wife Shannon was always like, "Send me a picture," blah blah blah. So like right before the game, we'd go out, and me and Asa would take a selfie, and then that every game that happened, every game at Desert Pines, it was me and him on the sidelines. We would do it, and then when we got to Boulder City, it kind of exploded and took off. The first game, you know, he's in 7th grade at the time, and we're coming up right before we were about to walk down the tunnel, and Ace is like, "Hey, we're gonna take a picture." I go, "Yeah," and we're standing in front of all the kids, and we went and took a picture, and all the kids like jumped into it, and literally didn't think anything of it, posted it, whatever. And then the next week, again, this is where all the kids are like, "Coach, when are we doing the selfie? When are we doing the selfie?" So it's turned into a thing that like we have to do. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So there's a selfie of you and Asa at every game he's ever played, probably.
Weirdly, we didn't do it with him playing. It was always a high school thing. Oh, I see. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it was always there. So like I've got him from like him 4 to like 10, all in like his Desert Pines gear, and then fast forward out here. So yeah,
that's great. That's great. Well, Boulder City plays Churchill County Friday night, 7 p.m. kickoff in Fallon. Get there or tune in if you can. We'll be back here next week, every Wednesday for the Coaches Show at 7 p.m. Thank you, Don, for setting this up. And big thanks to you, Coach, for being here tonight.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Sounds
good luck this week. Travel
Thank you.
safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
The Boulder City Sports Network is sponsored by Superior Builders, Inc. of Nevada, building spec residential and commercial with our investment partners for nearly 20 years. Contact Aaron at sbinevada.com for more information. And the I&I Music and Podcast Studio. If you're interested in using the studio, you can contact Dawn at iandimusic.studio. And EV Park, revenue-generating charging stations for apartments, hotels, offices, and short-term rentals. Contact sales at evpark.com to find out how your property can generate a new income stream.